Board meeting. We will start off with roll call. We have everyone except for Trustee Gursky, who is not with us today. And we also have no report out from closed session. So we will move on to the flag salute. And we have a special guest, a student by the name of Marilyn, who will be leading the flag salute. Should we all stand? Thank you.
Salute, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, for liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Marilyn. All right, before we get into the agenda, I'll just pause to ask my fellow board members if anyone has any suggested changes. All right, hearing none, we'll move on to special presentations, starting with the superintendent report.
Well, good evening, board, and good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for coming to our board meeting tonight. I like to start each meeting talking about some of the wonderful things that have gone on since our last meeting. And so I want to share a few things that have gone on. First of all, back on January 20th, we were able to dedicate the Emil J. Geddes Theater. It was a wonderful event, and if you haven't seen the theater, it turned out beautiful, so I would encourage you to go. But I want to especially thank Mark Morello and his students for such a great job that they did. I want to thank Nicole Clevin for all the work that she did to put that together, and I want to congratulate one more time Emil J. Geddes. So congratulations, Emil. I also want to congratulate Adam's teacher, Helen Calloway. So at the last meeting, I reported that she was one of the representatives that went to this awards dinner, and she actually won. So she is now the representative of for Region 4 that's going to the state. And so we're so proud of her and wish her well. So congratulations to Helen. I love this picture with the different flags in the background. So this is Mrs. Roberts' class from Cray. They're fifth graders getting to experience the walk through American Revolution. If you've never seen that, it's a lot of work for the students to prepare for and to be ready, and they learn a lot in the simulation that they go through. So I'm excited to see that. Mark Morello and his Bristow Jazz Band on the 21st, shortly after performing at the dedication, won a superior rating at the Jazz Festival at El Cerrito High. What we constantly hear is that they could beat some of the high school bands that they're in there. So congratulations to them for their great job. The 75th anniversary of the city took place on January 22nd. And so this was our team that was there that had some great photos and artifacts that were out there that were shared with. They had a great turnout from people coming. So thank you for going and representing us. We appreciate you all. It was Lunar New Year. And so Guerin Elementary has a long history of celebrating the Lunar New Year. So great celebrations being had out there. And then it's also Odyssey of the Mind season. So this is Spontanea Mania. For those of you that are familiar with the Odyssey of the Mind program, it's where student teams come in and they're giving a problem that they have to solve right on the spot with no preparation. So there's another part of Odyssey of the Mind where they have a problem they work on for years, or not years. It seemed like years as an Odyssey of the Mind parent. It's actually only a few months. Anyway, so congratulations to them. I want to thank the Mary Casey Black PTA. They did something nice. They provided a soup and salad luncheon for their hardworking staff that's out there. It's those little things, those acts of kindness that really are appreciated by the staff. So thank you to the Mary Casey Black PTA. I want to thank Kim Carr and Alexa Negrete, who is a former Bristow student, who are now going around and helping out with I Can Help, which is a wonderful program about positivity on social media. And so they came out to Bristow on the 24th, so I want to thank them. This was STEM Challenge Day at Harvest Grove, and so all kinds of challenges were revolving around snow, so sledding, snowball structure, sledding track, so great fun was had by all on that day. It's also spelling bee season, so I want to congratulate all the spellers that participated. So that's Jacob Del Rosario, who won first place, Christopher Sendig in second place, and Evelyn Osei in third place. So congratulations to them from Edna Hill. We, on January 25th, it was our 100th day of school. So that's a big deal out there. And so these are students coming in through the Cray 100 sign, getting to do that. There's only one day a year. I love these pictures. These are Mary Casey Black kindergartners. They're dressing up of what they would look like when they were 100. And so this is on the 100th day of school. So 3 of my favorite pictures of the year. And then this was a new one. So sorry, it's supposed to say Mrs. Bullington. I don't know why it's self-corrected to Mrs. Bulletin. So Bridget's class in Cray, their transitional kindergartners, they used a camera filter and they did it digitally to see how they would look. So it's pretty impressive. So anyway, going forward. I did not try it out because I worried it would just come back with the same picture. So we continue to have restorative justice training around the district. This is the Mary Casey Black staff working through that. And so we appreciate all that work and support that they're providing to us. Another spelling bee celebration. So that's Ethan there holding the plaque. He was the winner, but congratulations also to Manal, Yena, and Falgun for also doing such a great job in their competition. On January 27th, Brentwood's Room 38 was able to go to Freedom High School and visit their Special Olympic basketball program. So always love that. And we have a Special Olympics coming up, soccer, this Friday at Adams. So we're excited about that as well. It's a Cray Talent Show taking place. So lots of great acts up there, lots of talented kids. I was able to go by on the 30th and visit woodshop in Mr. Robinson's class at Edna Hill Middle School. And so it's just a reminder how fortunate we are to continue to have all of those programs still in our schools. And so it was great to see that. As part of Black History Month, this is Mrs. Colley's 5th grade class that they created a collaborative art project together, celebrating historical figures in Black history. So great job to them. There were lots of those going around. And then I showed you the picture earlier of the Emil J. Geddes dedication. So this is the very first night, the very first play, Aladdin, and the kids did a fantastic job. So congratulations to Mrs. Levy and the kids, but also I was able to take Emil there. So someday I forget what the name of his character is. It's the who's Jasmine's father, the Sultan? Sultan, sorry. So it's been a while since I had a daughter watching Aladdin. So the Sultan got to take a picture with Emil Geddes. So it was a very fun night. I want to thank Ed, Jorge, Jesse, and Jesus. This is part of they're part of our landscaping crew, but they were out there helping out because Garen needed help in a hurry. And they came out there. We just appreciate them. All that they do, especially in the cold weather, but also to help out when we needed it. This was an amazing gathering that took place at February 6th at Mary Casey Black. And I just want to acknowledge the staff for their beautiful outpouring of love for teacher Ceci Martinez and all that they did. And I'll come back to that in just a few minutes. But it was a beautiful day, and I really want to just acknowledge Maria Gonzalez and her team for all that they did in helping with that and putting that together. I want to talk about this is Dr. Cray. So on the 20th anniversary of the school being open, Dr. Cray came out and presented carved coyotes to the staff who were still there after 20 years. So it was a very touching gift and a touching moment. So thank you to Dr. Cray for continuing to have such an important role in our school. On February 9th, there was a TK and Kinder Fair. It's often the first chance that we get to connect with some of our incoming families. And I want to thank everybody that was a part of that. And we had over 250 future families and students that joined us. This looks super cool. And I want to say this to Maria's. I don't know why I wasn't invited out to see it, but this is the mobile planetarium that came out to Mary Casey Black. So that looks like a great opportunity for kids. This is the Ron Nunn Kindness and Caring Committee or club, student club. They have a special relationship with some Somerset neighbors. And so this was they brought Valentines and played games with them as a special after school activity. So congratulations and thank you to them for continuing that. This was a neat activity by Adams Middle School. Their student body students who went to every classroom door, and every student at that school had their name put in a heart on one of those doors throughout the whole campus. So I just want to acknowledge them and trying to help make help make everybody feel like they belong there. This is Adams. They created a new unified bowling team. And so really thrilled to continue to see that unified program spread throughout the district. So thank you for putting in that extra work. This was the Brentwood Elementary Parents Club's Valentine's Family Dance. So Mrs. Williams-Rogers, I think I see you there in the corner, but I heard it was a fantastic event. So thank you to them and congratulations. This is unfortunately happening right now, which is Pioneer Elementary Parents Club Diversity and Equity Committee has organized a special showcase honoring Black History Month in an oratory festival. And so I was able to go out to the rehearsal last week and see as they were working with the students. So I'm really excited to hear how it goes tonight, and I hope that there's a video of it as we can watch afterwards. This is Loma Vista. TK and kindergarten students had the opportunity to learn about recycling. So thank you for the city of Brentwood to continuing to partner with us as they move forward. I thought this was a fun thing. So Mr. Tropp's social studies class at Adams created board games based on the Oregon Trail. And so that was last week. This week they get to play them and go through and experience that. So a great way to learn and internalize. I said I would come back to this, and I just want to just follow up and just say how devastated we've been to lose Ceci Martinez. She was an amazing teacher, somebody I enjoyed going in and seeing her class, and I was out at the school yesterday, and I just can't say enough about how that staff pulled together to support students, to support each other. And I know that will continue to be an ongoing need out there. But the strength that she showed throughout this time, and this is just a part of the amazing outpouring of love and support that showed up at that school for her, and that's on display in the front office. So I just took a small picture of it to celebrate her. So. And then finally, I want to acknowledge that this is the time of the year where we're celebrating our Employees of the Year. And so we'll be sending these out as we go, as well as announcing our district Employees of the Year for the entire district. But we're just so fortunate to have amazing employees that are being recognized by their peers. And so that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Dr. Eaton. Before we move on to the next portion of the agenda, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence in recognition of beloved teacher Ceci Martinez. Ceci made a tremendous impact on those that came to know her and were in her presence. And her memories will last a lifetime. And it's just a testament of what she gave to us and what she'll continue to give us in spirit. With that, we will move forward with the student presentation from Brentwood Elementary.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, everyone. I am Guy Rawls, principal of Brentwood Elementary School, and I get the honor of being here with some special guests tonight, some students here from Brentwood L, who are going to be presenting on our Reading Academy, which is our reading intervention. Just want a big thank you to the parents for bringing them out. Thank you to the students for being here. I can kind of tell they're a little bit nervous. And also thank you to staff, because I have a majority of the Reading Academy staff that's here. There's 2 members that can't be here that really want to be, and the rest are, and that's just kind of a testament to why the program is so successful. So as I was saying, I am here to talk about our intervention at Brentwood Elementary, which is also known as Reading Academy. And this is in LCAP Goal 2 for intervention. The identification and implementation of a consistent research-based program, structure, and service model to meet the needs of all students. And basically what it is, it's from the pull-out math and reading intervention that's come from the 2-year intervention grant with intervention teacher and support aides, which has brought this program. We've had it before, but we were able to kind of bring some more things as a resource and really helped out. Brentwood Elementary, our Reading Academy, our program offerings are our SIPs, which is a systematic instruction in phonological awareness, phonics, and sight words for grade K through 1. Sonday, which is for grades 2 through 5. We have reciprocal teachings for grades 4 through 5 with a focus on comprehension. And I also want to introduce the staff that's here, which is Mrs. Alma Magoza, Mrs. Lisette Cortez, Mrs. Jennifer Ulrich, and Mrs. Patricia Cross here, and Mrs. Sanchez and Mrs. Herrera could not be here, but they are a big reason why this program is so successful. And what we have is our student voice. So we've got some students here kind of in order that are going to talk a little bit about what their day is like or when they come to Reading Academy. So I want to introduce that we have Luna, Valeria, Galilea, Camilo, Colton, and Marilyn. And they're students who are participating in Sunday or SIPs, and they're here to tell a little bit about what their day's like. So let's start here with Luna, who's going to be number 1.
My name is Luna, and I am in first grade. My name is Luna, and I am in first grade. I love going to Reading Academy because we get to learn how to read. My name is Valeria, and I am in first grade too. I like doing dictation in Reading Academy. My name is Galilea. I have graduated from Reading Academy this year. That means that I have mastered my reading skills. I love reading.
I am Camilo, and I like when we play games in Reading Academy on Fridays. These games help us spell words when we write. I like getting help in Reading Academy.
Hi, my name is Colton. I'm in Reading Academy, and they help me learn how to read fluently and learn how to write.
Hi, my name is Marilyn, and I am successful in my group in Reading Academy. I am moving up levels quickly, and Mrs. Cortez is very proud of me. I love reading books. I really hope many other kids get to go to Reading Academy. The ladies see 109 kids a day. It takes 6 ladies working hard to help kids read. Thank you for inviting us to share our thoughts on our Reading Academy.
Now we have a portion staff force, and I have staff that's going to read a couple of quotes from some of our staff members. So I believe Mrs. Melgoza.
One of our teachers from second grade, Pam Fisher, said, "Reading Academy has truly been a gift to my students who are struggling readers. It offers them a place where they can learn the required skills to read in a non-threatening environment. I have the privilege of watching kids grow from being far below grade level readers to reaching their grade level standards. These kids not only learn the skills needed to read, but they build confidence at the same time. The team of leaders in this academy give the gift of reading to so many kids." And one of our teachers from third grade, Stephanie Goldman, said, "I've been very happy with the Reading Academy services this year. I appreciate that students are grouped according to need instead of grade level. I've noticed a big jump in test scores of my nearly grade level Reading Academy students especially. My far below grade level students are showing growth in their CBM scores and growth in A reading as well as the Accelerated Reader STAR test."
Next, we have Lisette Cortez, who's also our Classified Employee of the Year. Read about the parent voice.
So Dwayne's mom, Mrs. Aisha Malone, says, "Dwayne is doing excellent with his reading. With the help of Reading Academy, Dwayne can sound out words with little to no help. He enjoys reading the weekly stories. Reading Academy has sparked his interest in reading short stories." And Taryn's mom, Mrs. Freeman, says, Before Taryn was going to Reading Academy, he was really struggling and I didn't know what to do. However, since the Reading Academy teachers have been working with him, he's thriving and he's shown much improvement. It warms my heart. He shows so much more confidence and actually asked to read some of his bedtime stories to me. We couldn't have done this without the Reading Academy.
Thank you very much. And the impact, I believe Marilyn talked about statistics, but in Reading Academy, they see 109 students daily. And basically it's in 45-minute sessions 4 to 5 times a week. And anytime we can, if there's someone absent, they are calling for the next student in line to come for everyone for an opportunity to read. So it's really them being here is the reason the program is so successful. The students being here shows what that success looks like. It's just a phenomenal. We don't have our effect size data, but usually when we do, when we're always looking for a 0.6 coefficient for effect size, our Reading Academy scores usually are in the whole numbers of like 1.2 to 2.5 in making growth. So just a phenomenal resource and intervention. And thank you for the 2 years of additional help. And thank you, everyone. And thank you for parents for bringing them out.
Yes, round of applause. Shout out to the Reading Academy and these wonderful readers who will get a certificate for sharing. So Valeria. Your certificate. Supporting our students, and shout out again to the Reading Academy. Thank you. All right, next up on the agenda, we have board member comments and committee reports. Oh, they don't want to stay for the meeting? No. Yeah.
Run.
Thank you. We'll give folks a few moments to step out.
You lonely?
All right, go ahead.
So I had a transportation, I'm on the transportation committee for the board. And we had a transportation committee meeting last week. And what was approved, the transportation committee is a group of people that represent all the schools in our area with the exception of Knightston. And if I'm saying anything wrong, let me know. All right. And during this meeting, I was pretty excited about it. Transportation meetings normally aren't the most stimulating meetings around, talking about school buses and stuff and buying school buses. But that board approved, it's a new program that's going to be implemented hopefully by the beginning of next school year. And basically what it is it'll help the transportation boss figure out shorter routes and things like that. You enter all the data in it and it tells better ways that they could save probably some gas or electricity because we have an electric bus and stuff. And it'll just make things much more easier. Another part of this program is at some point they're hoping to implement a thing where the kids, it'll be like a barcode or something. It's in the very beginning stages. So if a student gets on the wrong bus, it'll notify the driver right away that this student is on the wrong bus. And that's very important because especially for the special ed and stuff like that. And they get a lot of calls from parents saying, hey, did my kid get on the bus? Because the bus is normally being dropped off at this time. They can instantly look it up and say, yeah, your student's on the bus, but they're running 10 minutes behind because they're in traffic or they had an incident or something like that. It'll also have an all-call type thing if there's an incident with one of the buses too. So it's pretty a good system, and it'll be able to solve some of the tracking problems and stuff like that. So, like I said, everybody was pretty excited about it, and it passed on the first vote for them to go ahead and buy this program and start implementing it. So it'll be interesting to see how some of the other things we've been doing. I think there was another school bus purchased, and if I'm not mistaken, that would be the third school bus. Yep, third school bus, brand new, that we've purchased in the last few months, which is obviously important because the other buses are so old and stuff. So, but thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to it going online. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and I attended the strategic action planning committee last week, and today was the first round of interviews for CBO.
Thank you for representing. My report out is that Trustee Geddes and I attended the interagency meeting. Dr. Eaton was also present. During that meeting, we focused primarily on the discussion around partnerships between our district and the Los Medanos College. We also were able to engage with the new president of Los Medanos. So it was a pretty engaging conversation and discussion. Liberty Union High School District was also talking about their partnership alongside us. I also, as you've seen in the superintendent report, I was able to attend the Brentwood Elementary Valentine's Family Dance. It was packed, and I took my kindergartner, my husband and I, and my kindergarten didn't want me anywhere around him as he danced across the around the gym, and they had like a conga line that they were going around, and I was like, "Well, it's pretty cool." But a lot of those students had the moves, so I was pretty impressed. And lastly, I was invited to celebrate Black History Month with the first grade class at Brentwood Elementary. Shout out to the teacher, Mrs. Jeffries. The theme was persistence and resistance, and I was able to hear from the students on what they wanted to keep at and be persistent with, and the things they wanted to achieve. So a very special moment, and it was great seeing the different Black history figures across the campus as I walked around. So that's my report, and I will move on to Trustee Geddes.
Just 1 minute.
Yeah.
Dana, can you just talk about the exciting news for Friday, weather permitting?
Sure. Yes, on Friday, we will be doing potentially a groundbreaking out at Lone Tree School, which is the school out. We're doing it at 2 o'clock, and so I know it's meant to be more of a photo event, so we're going to take a picture, but it's possible we're going to get rained out. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to make the call tomorrow, but right now it looks like 90% rain on Friday, so we'll see.
Yeah.
So
Y'all are invited out. Do you want to stand in the mud and the rain or whatever?
yeah,
So
2 o'clock
great.
might be tough. That's the hard part.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ditch the class and come out to the groundbreaking ceremony. All right, moving on to Trustee Geddes.
Yes, I was able to be in the interagency meeting as mentioned too, and in the interviews today for CBO. Probably, but the most eventful thing that's happened to me in a long time is the 19th. I was able to attend the dedication of the theater, and I would like to thank everyone for their wonderful support. It was amazing and overwhelming for me and my family, and thank you so very much.
Yes. All right. Thank you, board, for sharing with the public all the things that we do outside of our board meetings. All right, we're going to move on to the next agenda item, which is public comment. And at this time, the public is permitted to address the school board on items that are on the consent calendar, request for future agenda items, and items that are not on the agenda. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person, and while we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents us from discussing items that are not on our meeting agenda. Public comments can be made at this time or during the appropriate agenda item. We do take them very seriously, and if appropriate, staff will follow up. Can I get a motion to open a public comment?
I'll make a motion, we open public comment.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, public comment is open and I have 2 speaker cards.
I just wanted to let you know, I received a write-in comment after the cutoff time,
Okay,
and so the board did not receive that as a result. I will include it in the minutes, and I will make sure that you guys receive it tomorrow. And it will be reflected in the minutes.
Was that
wonderful.
the only one? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much for letting us know. I do have 2 public speaking cards. First, we have Angela Danson. This is my first time ever using this. Just jump right into it. Okay. All right. So hi, my name is Angela Danson. I have been a teacher in our district for 17 years. I'm currently the intervention teacher at Marsh Creek Elementary. Intervention has always been a passion for me. So when this position became available, it just seemed like it was a sign. I believe early intervention is critical to making a difference in all students' lives. Knowing that the district will be paying for a certificated intervention teacher for the next few years is amazing, and I thank the board for their hand in that. However, our program is nothing without the wonderful, amazing, hardworking, flexible, and dedicated aides that have built the intervention program with me. These women have been by my side building this program to what it is today, and I could not have done any of this without them. They have attended all the trainings with me these past 2 years, and I have seen growth in them that has been incredible. They're truly my peers, and I could not imagine running this program without them. I ask the board to please consider aid funding for our intervention programs moving forward. I'd like to share a few numbers with you. At Marsh Creek, we service kinder through 5th grade for reading and comprehension support. In addition to that, we service 3rd through 5th grade in math support. We have a total of 172 kids in our intervention program, which is 23% of our student population. I personally only service 54 of those students, which is 7% of our population. So cutting aid support would deny 118 Marsh Creek students from the access to critical interventions needed for them to be successful in school, specifically early interventions at the kindergarten through 2nd grade levels. A more specific and frightening number relates to my 1st grade students. We currently service 26 1st graders. The growth in some of these students just makes me smile to think about it. Starting their 1st grade year, not knowing any letter names and sounds, and moving through to reading CVC words is such a thing to celebrate. But even beginning to read CVC words at this point in the school year is very far behind. Cutting intervention aid support would mean that when these 26 1st graders who are currently receiving intensive research and science-based reading support will be cut to 6 students as they move up to 2nd grade. This is a number that I don't feel comfortable with. I could stand up here and give you all the numbers and present all the data. My data seems to be never ending these days. But the reality of our program is that it's working and it's successful. We're seeing student success, we're partnering with teachers, and we're hearing such great feedback from parents and their families. To truly value our students, we need to value our intervention program and fund them accordingly. Before any decisions are made, I would like to personally invite the entire board into my classroom to see just a snapshot of what happens in my classroom with all of our students and see what a strong, rigorous, structured program that Marsh Creek is providing. Thank you. Next speaker we have is Connie Torres.
I'll just stand there. Good evening, board members. Tonight, I will be speaking on behalf of my coworkers. Thank you for funding the full-time intervention teacher for each site. Research shows that early intervention is effective. It supports academic achievement, behavior, and the ability to interact with their peers socially and emotionally. For this reason, it is very important to address these concerns to support students' needs, in addition to providing sound and effective reading intervention. At Marsh Creek, we currently have 24 1st graders being strategically serviced by our reading intervention team. This includes the intervention teacher and 3 aides. Without the one-time money and the district not funding for the 3 aides, our intervention team will be cut to only 1 teacher. As a result, only 6 students out of 100 1st graders will receive intensive reading intervention by the intervention teacher next year. This is a mere 6% of our students. This number is lower than the number of students serviced pre-COVID. At that time, we had a total of 30 students being serviced in 1st and kindergarten. We are going backwards and failing our children with these decisions. Being able to read at a proficient level is a human right and has a profound effect on our community. Low literacy rates have lasting lifetime consequences, such as low self-esteem, anxiety, societal disconnection, high dropout rate, unemployment, poverty, and crime. This is an urgent matter. We are asking you tonight to prioritize early reading intervention by funding aides to keep our current level of intensive intervention support. This includes our full-time credentialed intervention teacher and 3 aides. We all know the importance of early intervention. It's not a matter of knowledge, it's a matter of action. Please take action and prioritize this current program. Thank you for your time. Alicia Erickson, Kristen Barnard, Shelley Bagg, and Carrie Tucker, first grade teachers at Marsh Creek Elementary. And I just want to personally add that we were announcing our staff of the year, and one of those people that's being cut, that's being laid off, is somebody that's one of our staff of the year this year, who is one of our wonderful aides. And you have seen the impact of all these students that were here. That's a really small fraction of what you normally see. If you come, they had 109 students at Brentwood Elementary. We have 172. So I would really like for you guys to come and visit Angela, and then the ladies, the wonderful ladies. The one thing that's really, really working this year, intervention. We're so happy we get to keep Angela, but it's a team. It's not a one-person job. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? All right, I'll take a motion to, go ahead.
Move that we close the public.
Second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Public comments have been closed. Next up, we'll move to item number 8, consent items. Can I get a motion to approve consent items?
I make a motion to approve consent items 8.0 to 8.8.
I have a first. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion carried. Moving on to agenda item number 9, we have no hearings and appeals. So we move on to item number 10. There were no items to report out in closed session. So we will move on to item number 10.1, a board update and feedback on LCAP progress and process.
Yeah, and board, this is just a standing item for us to have during this time. The calendar's been included in there as it's been included in the past. And so we have our second strategic action planning team workshop tomorrow. And in that time, based on the feedback that was brought about in the first session, we'll be bringing some draft goals to the group. After that time, the draft goals will come back to you, pending any changes based on the feedback that we get from the plan and then, or from the committee, and then they will go back out to the community as a whole. So in multiple groups, school site councils, parent clubs, staffs, associations, different stakeholder groups, student leaders, et cetera, with the goal of ultimately approving a budget and a plan and goals and LCAP in June going forward. So that's there for you.
All right, thank you for that update. And I want to acknowledge all those that have had something to do with this LCAP process. Very important for our district, so thank you. All right, moving on to item number 10.2, expanded learning opportunities programs update. Mike here. Cast real quickly. Yay, it worked. Okay, so our ELOP program, our Extended Learning Opportunities Program, was first brought to you in June, and so we're doing an update on that. So now that we've had this for about 7 months, it's time to just see how things are going. Well, this school year. We brought it to you in June, and now we're seeing how things are going as we've been implementing it. So the Extended Learning Opportunities Program provides students in TK through 6 extended or expanded learning opportunities before and after school, and then also during intersessions in summer. So the programs are supposed to focus on the developmental, academic, social, emotional, and physical needs of students with hands-on and engaging learning experiences. Whoops. Ooh, that went really fast, sorry. Go back.
I got used to Robin's clicker. Can't believe that's a fact. So the requirements are that it's supposed to first be introduced to our students who are considered unduplicated, which are English learners or students who are experiencing homelessness and foster and poverty. And the goal of the program is to reach 50% of those students, and we did reach that goal. We are at 63% of our students who are specifically enrolled in our Right to School program. So we have more than those number of students receiving services through the ELOP funding, but we have those at least 63% receiving are in our Right to School programs. So the time required for the ELOP services are no less than 9 hours with the instructional day. So with the instructional day and then before and after, and then no less than 30 non-school days. So we have 5 days per intersession, and then 20 days for for summer school or summer camp, as we're going to be calling it. So that is how we are defining those extra 30 days. And then we received $3.9 million for the school year to implement the program. And then we had some money left over for purchasing materials and supplies that we would use to support this program. And this year was considered the year to work towards the full implementation, while next year is the one where we have to have it fully regulated. And next year will be an audit year too, which we're really looking forward to that. So our partnership, sorry, my joke's not landing. Our partnership is with Right at School, and that is where we have these programs at all the elementaries and also one at Edna Hill Middle School. And this disguised learning activities, which are really just activities like exploring math and science, reading and writing, and social emotional programs, homework time. It's not necessarily academic so much as it is just supporting homework. And it's available every school day. And like we said before, the breaks and then the summer. And the idea is that to eventually have some in-service days too, to support a lot of our staff members are using this program. They're doing the pay for option and utilizing this program to support staff members as well. And it's open to 6 p.m. during the school days. And then on the breaks, it's open from 8:30 to 5:30. So like I said, this is where it's currently offered. And then it's a blended training. The Right at School program takes care of all their own staffing and programming. So they do a lot of work to train and coach and mentor their own staff. And they've hired from all local, from the local area. This is our numbers of our ELOP for the Right at School program. There's a lot of charts there. However, it just shows from August to now how those numbers have shifted. So those are each schools. Each columns are all schools. So you can just see that we're now at about 271 students who are taking advantage of the free program that we have for our Right at School, and which is, like I said, in excess of 430 would be the max amount that we would have for the unduplicated students in our district. So we have overachieved that 50% mark, but that's 63% of our students that are attending those programs. So that's where we're at currently. And then some updates on some more academic areas. We are using those same ELOP funds, the extended learning funds, for a program called PAPER that we're piloting at Edna Hill Middle School right now, which is going very well from what I understand, that the students have unlimited access to a 24-hour tutor that they can go online and they can show them what paper that they're working on or what assignment, and that tutor can interact with that student and support them with this program. So we're piloting there first, and then we might be using that with other schools. And we also have Young Bright Minds, which is through Village Resource Center, and they have a social emotional program that they're expanding to all the schools, and that's a program for all students to be able to utilize. So this is also a list that nobody can read because there are so many words up there, but that is all the programs that we have at all the schools that they've used this funding to have before. after school, some are during lunchtime, all sorts of programs, academic, like the social emotional learning, sports at lunch, all sorts of activities that are utilized for kids to have extra supports or intervention that we are using this funding for. So there are an enormous amount of supports happening throughout our entire school district for interventions. So if you ever want something to read late at night, there you go. So our next steps with the program are to evaluate the program and see about expanding to the other middle schools, or if which program we'll be using for middle schools, because the Right at School has not been very effective for a middle school at this time. Continue to build the program through outreach. The vice principal roles that we've expanded are designed with the idea of building the capacity of the ELAP programs, and then continue to look for ways for the additional academic offerings. Are there any questions about our ELAP programs? Okay.
Can you maybe talk about, I know we've had some public comments around the intervention teachers and such in the intervention program, which I know was funded with the COVID one-time funding. Can you talk a little bit how the ELAP program can also help support our students around intervention, reading, math, et cetera? You or Dr. Eaton?
Well, I think there are two different things. So the ELAP program is not meant to be a replacement necessarily for what's coming as a result of the loss of the one-time funding, but there is the ability to provide some homework support and some intervention programs. Part of the work on having vice principals attached to the program is the hope that we can align the programs a little bit better with the intervention and instructional programs that we have for what they're working, but it's not meant to be a replacement for what the intervention programs and the aids that are going away.
Okay. Thank you for that. I'm looking at the different programs, and it just seems to me like there's a heavy emphasis on math. Maybe that's just my eyes because the font is so small, but it just seems like there's like a emphasis on math. I'm just curious, how did these ELAP after school opportunities come about? Did the program themselves pick it, or do we have any input on that?
These were all generated by each school site by their need.
Got it. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so that was the information update. So we're going to move on to item number 10.3, which is an approval of declaration of need for fully qualified educators.
This is something that we bring to you every year, board. It's required by the CTC. Oftentimes when we are hiring, there's a shortage, as you know, of teachers, and especially in special ed, and we need to be able to hire those teachers without a credential. And so this allows us to do that. So they are intern credentials, either a PIP or a STIP. And so this declaration allows us to be able to do that, and we can send that to the CTC with your approval.
All right.
For discussion, I move that we move the declaration.
Second.
All right, I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
aye. Moving on to item number 10.4, which is the approval of the 2023-2024 initial certificated and management staffing allocations.
This is our Mike. This is our initial staffing for the next school year. And as you see on our graph here, our chart, we're anticipating needing 8 teachers, 4 in special ed, adding an SLP, adding 4 moderate to severe teachers, adding 1 SLP, and then in TK through first grade, adding 4 teachers. In second through third, adding 3, and fourth and fifth, adding 2. This is to keep up with our ongoing growth in the school district. And then anticipating growth in the middle schools, we're adding 3 additional teachers.
Okay. This is an action, so if I don't have any questions, do you have any questions, board? All right, can I have a motion?
I move for the approval of the 23-24.
I second. I have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right,
Aye.
motion, go. Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item number 10.5, the approval of the 2023 delegate assembly candidates.
Yeah, so this is a ballot that's here for you, board, to choose potentially three delegates. You can vote for no more than three candidates. It's not something you do individually. It's something you have to do as a collective body. And so there are names you may recognize on there. So Twee Dow Jensen, Dr. Tamala Hawley from Liberty, Meredith Mead from Lafayette, and Richard Severy from Moraga. So you can make any number of decisions. You can vote for none, you can vote for one, you can vote for two, you can vote for three, you just can't vote for four.
I'll make a recommendation that we vote for Twee and also the individual at Liberty, just to
Tamala.
keep it close by.
I would agree with those two.
I would add Richard Severy.
That'll work. You know more than we
Do
do.
you have any context on this third person? I'm not familiar with that individual.
I mean, he's a retired immigration lawyer on the school board in Moraga.
Okay.
I know him through delegate assembly.
Okay. So you're vouching for this individual, huh? All right. What about you, Geddes? Any thoughts?
No, I accept obviously our Hawaii. That recommendation is strong. I accept that evaluation.
Okay. So I've got, I think we are in agreement with Twee Dow Jensen, Tamala Hawley, and then the third person's name is Richard Severy.
And we did have first. Any comments?
First on those three, do I have a second? Oh, we need a first on those three individuals for a delegate?
I'll make a motion that we approve the three people that we just spoke about.
All right, we've got a first. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, we have a first and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item number 10.6, approval of resolution 2023-04.
Anybody?
Going once?
Oh, I'm sorry. So this is a resolution to bring forward to you about the elimination of our staff due to the change in funding. And so this is the classified staff members that we've been talking about, the intervention. As you know, that funding comes to an end. In many cases, site principals, I want you to know, are going to do some funding based on using site funds to be able to fund those positions. But we have to bring this forward at this time as to take notice before March 15th that will notify those employees. The hard part about all this is that although we're doing layoffs, we also have openings in the district, right? So I'll be holding a meeting with those employees and letting them know that process. There will be some bumping rights, and then we'll let them know about other positions that will be opening in the district.
And just to be clear, we go through this every year, and then some of these people end up maintaining their positions because funding is found or
Correct.
other through attrition, et cetera.
I think one of the things that we're hoping for is, I think it was Connie spoke of the importance of K2 reading, and it's been at the forefront of what State Superintendent Thurman's been talking about, and we've been waiting to see if there were going to be funds that were available, because that'd be the only way that we could sort of keep it going. We're a little worried now because they said that there was even less money than what they thought was coming into the state coffers, so it's possible that that might not come this year. And so, but the result of this layoff now isn't necessarily permanent for the year, but it's where we have to be now with the funding that we know about. So that could always change.
All right, any other questions?
Nope.
All right, can I have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve 10.6, which is the resolution for 23-24.
I second.
There you go.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All right. Motion carries. Next, we have item number 10.7, a presentation of the district equity plan development.
Yeah, good evening, board. It's my pleasure to introduce to you tonight the Canizales Group. And so with us, we have Unitra, if you want to come up to the table here. And then Robin's working on the Zoom. Okay.
think we're expecting to start at 8, so let me just text.
No problem.
We did.
Yadira, how did your event go?
It was great. We just got back from the.
Oh, you might, I'm not sure if that was.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. There we go.
Perfect. We just got back from the first annual Black History Month oratorical showcase at Pioneer, and it was just beautiful to really let students shine with poetry and poems and speeches inspired by African American authors or even dancers, and they were just so bright shining up there. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I was bummed that wasn't able to attend, and hopefully someone was able to get some video of it and I can watch it.
Principal McClure texted me some videos, so I will make sure that I get those posted up and sent.
All right, yay, thank you. And thank you for attending
It was
and
great.
coming over here afterwards. Appreciate it.
No problem. Is she in the Zoom room yet?
Not good.
Okay.
I can do a little riddle.
Not good.
All right. What belongs to you that other people use that you usually don't? Come on, man.
That was.
Apparently,
Man, I'm trying to kill time here.
apparently you both read the same joke book.
So she just joined,
All right. We called that perfect timing.
so we're just gonna get her casted up and, there we go. And maybe we'll just do a quick sound check to make sure we can hear her and she can hear us.
I think she might be on.
Maida, can you hear us? We can't hear you.
Okay, now try.
Maida?
Hi.
Perfect. We hear you clearly.
Am I supposed to be able to see someone?
You know, we can see you, we're getting the camera set up, so if you wanna go ahead,
Oh,
do you have a presentation you'll be casting for us? Okay, do you have, share rights to share your screen? So you can go ahead.
no. Oh, there we go. Hi. It's way more humanizing. Okay, it says host disabled participant screen share.
There you go, right now.
Perfect. All right, so we're ready to start, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Well, hello, I'm actually starting. It's really good to be here with you virtually. Thank you for getting the audio set up for us. And we are going to be Dallas Group, and we're here to officially kick off the work that we'll be doing with Brentwood Unified School District, although we've already been meeting with school district officials. And you have introduced yourself already?
Not yet.
Okay, perfect. So my name is Maida. I was born in San Francisco and raised in Hayward. And I am a partner with Sunny Dallas Group. I'll say two things about me. One, professionally, I was a traditionally trained teacher. I taught elementary school and middle school. I was also an instructional coach, an assistant principal at a high school. And I spent 7 years as a principal of a pre-K through 8th grade school in Washington, D.C. And since stepping away from that in July of 2021, really what we do now is figure out how to help school districts get closer to their core beliefs and their core values. So that's a little bit about me personally. And I would say that one of the things is professionally, I love middle schoolers, so I'm really excited that you all have an elementary and middle school component. And personally, a fun fact about me is that I never necessarily grew up with pets, but I now have a dog, and his name is Tank, and I am obsessed with it. So if you ever want to talk Tank or American Bullies or Pit Bulls or something like that, I think they get a bad rep, but they're really, really sweet. I also love Brentwood. I'm not a resident, but I spend a lot of time there. Getting to know all the Brentwood streets, and I've actually been in some of the schools. And I have kids that I love to go to Pioneer and have. Great to meet you.
All right, and I'm Yanita. I'll say hello to everyone here too, since I have my back to you. And I am also a founding partner with Canizales Group, and I'm super excited to be here to share a little bit more about our partnership and what engagement is going to look like moving forward. I'll share professionally and personally as well. Professionally, like Maida, I was a former teacher, former instructional coach, former assistant principal, head of school, and principal. Spent most of my instructional time in middle school, but I did run a school that was K-12. Grew up in the Bay Area, specifically in Hayward and Oakland and San Francisco. And now my family and I moved to Brentwood a year and a half ago. So we are Brentwood, I am a Brentwood community member. We have 4 children. One's graduating from Howard this year that we're really excited about. And then 3 little ones. One goes to Pioneer with Mr. McClure in 4th grade. And the other 2 are 6th graders with Miss Griggs at Adams. So I think I shared a little bit about professional and personal there. Nice to be here with you.
So I'm going to start us off with a little bit about just our approach and our values for the work. And we really have a couple conditions that we really believe to be true, regardless of where school districts are in the journey of equity and figuring out their own core beliefs and how they speak to the work that they do in the community. One of ours is that we believe that belonging is a key condition for transformation. And that means that we, not only for children, but also for adults in the community, we believe that when you feel a strong sense of belonging for the work, for the community that you're in, that you will thrive. The teachers will thrive, school leaders will thrive, parents and families will thrive, and more than anything, students will thrive in our schools. We address both the relational and the technical aspects of the work. This is hard work, it's also heart work. And you have to be able to say, okay, this is the technical, the logistic things that will move our program along. But also these are the relational things. These are the relationships, the identities, and the systems that we have to think about in order to address equity. We are also unapologetic about anti-racism. We ask the tough questions, but we also leave room for entry points. We know that everyone is on a continuum of their own learning, and that everybody has to see the work that we do in a community as a place marker where they can hold on, bring the value that they already have worked on, but also leave room for work. We also are proud bilingual and proud products of bilingual programming when we were young in elementary school. So we empower bilingual and bicultural communities. This also means that we're able to host focus groups, have conversations in both Spanish and English. And we will find how to work through barriers for any community member that feels that they want to speak in a different language to make sure that their voice is empowered as well. And finally, we believe that long-standing change is only possible when done with the community. It is very important that equity audits not only take into consideration like key data outcomes that we'll go over in a second, but also what do parents want? Getting neighbors to speak to one another. Really listening to the voice of teachers and school leaders, because you don't want to necessarily approach this work and feel like it's being done to you. You want to make sure that it's done with. Next is, why does this work matter? And the reality is that Brentwood has core beliefs, right? And these are probably really, really familiar to you, but we wanted to highlight that in your own core beliefs, you already have some really beautiful stances on how you ensure belonging for everyone. You see words like embraces the diversity of all learners. There's a culture of respect that values individuality. You believe that each person is worthy of dignity, and more importantly, that all children can learn. And that means that when we are seeing data or when we are hearing stories where we know that some children are not living up to their full potential, it's not because we don't believe that they can. We just have to figure out what is the barrier and how to dismantle it or put checks and balances into place, systems into place, so that we can live up to the value that all children can learn at the same pace as one another as well. And you believe that all children deserve to be educated in a safe and supportive environment, because you probably also believe that when kids feel like they belong, that they will really thrive. So we wanted to just highlight and sunshine the fact that your own core beliefs are already primed for this one. Where we see ourselves as partners is figuring out how do you work so that your aligned actions actually mirror the values. So the big question is how do we hold ourselves accountable so that our actions and our outcomes are aligned with our values? As partners, although we are in the neighborhood, we have children that we love in your schools, ultimately we are not the decision makers around how they will all come to fruition in Brentwood. The community is. And what we like to think is we're not here as consultants that will ask a few questions and tell you what to do. We are really here to place a mirror in front of you, to place a mirror in front of the community to say, let's look at ourselves. Let's figure out where our actions are aligned to our values. And sometimes we might have aligned actions and still have outcomes that we're not proud of. And figuring out, so what is the different? How are we going to change either our actions or our values to make sure that we have outcomes that really speak to the beliefs that we say that we have for our community? And the reality is that your community is also really primed for this work. While we know that Brentwood Unified does experience some challenges, particularly we've been talking to some district leadership around all that you're trying to do to diversify the workforce and the teachers at your school, and you're going to new job fairs and new virtual fairs that you've never gone to before. We know that the diversity does live in the students that you serve. Your diversity in the community is pretty significant. You have a majority Latino school district at 34%, followed by white students at close to 32%, African American Black students close to 9%, a variety of Asian students at 18%, and mixed race and multiple races at almost 8%. You also have 1 in 10 students at the USD who are emergent bilinguals or multilingual learners, federally known as English language learners. But that doesn't mean that you don't have more students who are already formally English proficient, but are exposed to many different languages as heritage speakers in their home. About 3 in 10 BUSD students come from social economically disadvantaged homes, and 16% of BUSD students currently have IEPs. So when we think about the diversity of the students, is thinking about how do we take those core beliefs and make sure that all of our subgroups are experiencing success and thriving at our school. And the next slide that we're going to show is some some outcome data that is pretty much state indicators of some of the work. And this is just the beginning. Yanita's going to talk about how we will unearth both qualitative and quantitative data so that we can hold ourselves accountable. But if we're thinking about the core belief of the USD, we believe all children can learn, be critical thinkers, and be productive and globally minded students. We do have some pain points when we look at the USD data. What you see here is ELA to the left and math to the right. Overall, outperforming the state standard in ELA at the USD is something to be proud of. And we have some of our students from 12 to 37 points above that standard, including Filipino, Asian, Pacific Islander, white students, and students that are mixed race. However, we have some pain points up to 75%, 75 points below the state standard, with students with disabilities, emerging bilingual, Latino students, Black students, and homeless students or experiencing home insecurity. In math, we right now currently BUSD is 27.5% below the state standard. Our success points right now are with Filipino and Asian students, 15 or 18% above the state standard. However, we're seeing up to 103 points below the state standard for subgroups of students with IEPs, emerging bilingual, Latino, Black African American, those experiencing home insecurity, and Pacific Islander. So while this is only a piece of the puzzle, this is an important indicator to think about how do we make sure that we are interrupting whatever it is that we believe may be leading to this, and also how do we put more supports into place to make sure that all of our students are at the very minimum meeting the state standard, and then what we want to see is surpassing the state standard for our communities. For all students are deserving of an educated and a safe and supportive, quality-rich environment. One data point that the school district has already shared with us is suspension data. And we have both high suspension rates, which is homeless youth at 5%, students with IEP at 4%, socially, economically diverse at 4.5%. And then we have very high suspension rates. Our students who are foster youth are being suspended at close to a 13% rate, and African American Black students are being suspended at a 7.5% rate. And I want to say that this is hard, right? I think that as a former principal, some of the hardest days of my career, of my tenure in 8 years was the days that I had to file suspension work and have reentry meetings with families. And not only necessarily how that happens, but also how we re-enter students after they've experienced separation from their own communities. But this is one of the data points that we could look at as a district to say, what can we see here? What can we learn here? And how can we interrupt this? And is there a different way? And finally, I think we believe that we have a moral obligation and a professional obligation to disrupt inequitable outcomes for our students. The beautiful thing is that in BUSD, we have district leadership and district board committed to doing this courageous work. And sometimes we'll have more questions than answers, especially on the path towards discovering what it is that may be getting in our way to be able to disrupt these inequitable outcomes. However, we believe that with the help of teacher voice, listening to the community and families, and obviously champion our school leaders to be able to really give us a glimpse of the type of support that is needed at schools to interrupt these outcomes, that we could really be positioning ourselves as a community to have some really impactful strategic planning that makes us feel like we are on the right path to disrupting this inequitable outcomes. So that is a little bit about why the work is important and how we can look at certain pain points to give us a path forward. However, Yanita's going to talk a little bit more about like why we do it and look like how we do it and the timeline of how it's done.
Great. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Maida. So one thing that I want to say that's not on the presentation is that Brentwood is a beautiful community. I think that there's a really special family, small town, but it got larger town feeling here. And change can happen quickly here if we lock arms together to disrupt the inequitable outcomes that Maida spoke about. And ultimately, our goal is to build an equity-driven movement really fueled by trust in this community. And we hope to do that by having a equity audit and strategic planning process that is very transparent, that has authentic family collaboration, and that there's an abundance of information flow so that everyone who wants to be a part of this conversation and a part of this movement can find their place in that journey, because all the voices in this community matter. So I do want to talk about just what is the work, right? We talked about the values, why we believe it's important. And now we need to get straight on, well, what is it that we're going to do to start? So our goal is that we are going to have a community-driven and data-driven equity audit that is going to leverage mixed method approaches, not just survey data, not just student achievement data or suspension data, but also one-on-ones, also focus groups, also school visits. And this audit is going to result ultimately in a SWOT, strength, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats as it relates to diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging work in Brentwood. And those SWOT and recommendations will inform a multi-year strategic plan. And equity audits are really powerful because they can help us assess the gaps. They also build consensus with the information that's gathered among stakeholders, and they allow us to mitigate educational systems and practices that are negatively affecting our students and families, especially subgroups that are historically marginalized, which you saw in the data that we shared, are consistent subgroups in Brentwood. And equity audits also help to ensure that educational and community partners take action, right? It's not enough to say we're going to look in the mirror and see where we have strengths and where we have growth areas, but we actually have to do something different. There has to be a do different for the outcomes to be different. And I'm going to keep going because you're probably curious, okay, we're ready to lock arms to do this work, to do this equity audit, but how are we going to do that? And I want to just be a champion of it's going to be community driven. So what you see here are the mixed method approaches that Canizales Groups hopes to partner with Brentwood on. So you'll see that there's different pieces to the equity audit, and I'll just highlight some of them and some details for them. So right now, the yellow little picture is where we're at, right? We began engaging with district leadership at the end of January, right? And it is February, so we're very early in the process. So the first thing that we're doing is doing a deep dive on data and artifact analysis. So we've been working with BUSD to get all kinds of data, student achievement data, social emotional learning data, family experience survey data, staff demographics, student demographics, to just inform, well, what does the data tell us about our strengths and our growth areas? We've also launched a listening campaign, because there is a lot of wisdom already from the folks who have been in Brentwood for some time and have tried different things. So we are engaging with 20 multi-stakeholders. Some are teachers, some are secretaries, some are counselors, some are principals, some are parents, to really hear from the community around their experiences, their concerns, their ideas when it comes to diversity, equity, and inclusion. We will also be hosting listening focus groups. Those will be predominantly focused on students and families. And like Maida mentioned, we hope to be able to do those at different school sites and in different languages, in different affinity settings, so that everyone has an opportunity to share their experiences. One of the things that we talked about to build a movement is that there has to be an abundance of information flow. So we plan to also have community town halls, where maybe you weren't in a focus group or in a one-on-one, but you want to know what the work is and how you can participate. We plan to have two, one at the beginning of the process, just to sunshine the work and allow people an opportunity to see how they can participate, engage, and collaborate. And then we'll have one towards the end before the SWOT and recommendations are finalized, to get their final input and feedback. School visits will also be very, very important. We are hoping to visit 5 schools, and that's also where we'll meet with student focus groups and family focus groups. And those schools will be identified in partnership with the district leadership. And there's also going to be a very important core group, which is the Steering DEI Committee. And the Steering DEI Committee, we believe, is going to be approximately 25 stakeholders. We're hoping that it will be representative of the community, representative of the different roles in Brentwood, families, teachers, principals, et cetera. And really, that committee is going to do some of the self-reflection to inform the equity audit, and ultimately come to consensus around potential recommendations that they will then make to district leadership. And by the way, the steering committee has not been selected because it's part of the abundance of information and transparency, that it needs to be available to everyone so that all can feel an equitable opportunity to participate. There has to be a transparent process to be on the diversity, equity, and inclusion district committee. These are the phases of the work as far as when we hope they will happen. So right now we're in setting the stage, doing the project planning, the data analysis and collection, and we have launched the scheduling of the listening campaigns. I believe that we have, as of today, 12 out of the 20 already scheduled. And from mid-March to April is when we're going to begin some broader external community engagement and communication through the town hall, and also through beginning the DEI multi-stakeholder committee recruitment, selection, and retreat. This work takes focused time, and the DEI committee is going to have to spend some focused time together in the retreat setting this year and a follow-up retreat setting next year to make sure that the work is moving along. And in May, we'll be focusing on the community engagement, the school visits, the focus groups, and potentially a round 2 of more one-on-ones as we crystallize the SWOT and recommendations. And the final piece, as you see here, is the analysis of all the data, both qualitative and quantitative, that we will collect, that will then roll up into a SWOT report with recommendations.
And the only thing that I'll add is that when we are thinking about community-driven, the analysis of the qualitative and quantitative data is this idea that like a lot of the answers are within community. And our job is just to make sure that the voices rise so that the school board and the district leadership can really be in lockstep with what the community feels they need for all children to succeed.
The work for this year is going to end in the SWOT report and recommendations. But then next year, we would need to reconvene the DEI committee to use the SWOT to then begin to inform a multi-year strategic plan. So that's where we're headed, looking ahead into 23 and 24 school year. So we have some potential discussion questions for the board. I'm sure that you will have your own questions and thoughts, but we would love to hear how you need to be engaged in order to champion the strategic plan that results from this process. Also, what do you value about the recommended draft plan that we shared with you today? And what feedback do you have that you believe will make the path even stronger, especially given your expertise in this district? So I'll turn it to you, Chris, and to the board.
Thank you so much. Board, do you have any questions for us?
Scott, do you have any questions?
I think the fact that how do we engage, I think this is the first step right here. Engaging, hearing about it, engaging us to hear the plan. So I think we're, like you said, you're at step one. I think we're at step one too, so.
And what I'm taking for that is that progress updates to the board is going to be important.
Correct.
Along the way.
Correct. And I would be curious, just as an individual, the makeup of the community town hall meetings or stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would be curious to see, if there's 25 people or there's 150 people. We have to engage more than a small amount of people, and I'd be curious to see that.
And the broader engagement we would want to have from the community town halls and the school visits and focus groups. But keeping track of the representation of participants is also ensuring that it's an equitable process.
Yeah, because it's an everybody problem, so.
And an everyone solution.
Exactly.
I like that it's a systemic approach to understanding diversity and equity issues, but I also like the fact that it's mixed methods. So it's not just quantitative, it's qualitative data too, because understanding complex issues or just like the nuances of how people feel about anything, like they'll like certain things, but then they'll want the same thing to change in a particular way. So you can only understand that kind of, or achieve that type of understanding if you have qualitative methods. So quantitative to me is very limited, but that's just, my research background. I much prefer reading qualitative research methods because I feel like it delves more deeply into the complexity of human feelings, and like sometimes it'll tell you things that quantitative just cannot tell you at all.
Stories are data.
Yeah, and it's the stories that connect, humanity, right? It's if we have nothing at all, like everything about our identity, it's our lived experiences and how we view the world and how our experiences have shaped the way we view things. And if you can develop empathy in people who've not heard about this perspective or are not familiar with these perspectives, that's like just one step closer to achieving diversity and equity.
Yeah, often together.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. No, what I really appreciate about that comment is that oftentimes I mean, some people are really moved by data, but other people are really moved by like the story of the data, right? The quotes that we hear students say. But stories absolutely matter, and they bring humanization and color to understanding more than just the quote.
I personally think this program's so needed just based on the climate of the last few years. I mean, I may be naive, but I think the racial issues have gotten way worse, personally.
Yeah. I appreciate your presentation and the district being courageous in doing the work. And I agree that it's going to be an all hands on deck approach, including community members, our staff, our district leaders, our board, et cetera. I do have a couple of questions. And one is, I know that your plan includes like one-on-ones and focus groups. Can you talk a little bit about, because something I value is psychological safety for those that we're engaging. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for the focus groups and the one-on-ones, we've done them across the nation, right? And one important condition, right, is that it's voluntary. Right? People can be invited, but they have to choose to want to raise their voice. Something else that makes the environment really safe, right, is having clear norms and clear purpose. So setting the purpose, something that really matters to individuals is that they won't be quoted individually. That we won't say, Stephanie said X, Y, and Z. Instead, we listen for patterns.
Okay.
For patterns in the focus groups, for patterns in the one-on-ones, and those spaces are confidential. And there's norm setting around it so that everyone can contribute in a safe way, in a safe and honest way.
Yeah.
My experience with focus groups is that families and students are actually pretty vulnerable because they know that they're there to share an important experience of theirs, right? Whether it was something that really worked or something that was really painful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I appreciate you sharing the fact around norms. I think norms are very important and central, especially when you are working with groups of individuals. And, one thing that is also going to be important is the psychological safety of engagement with staff, to be able to be honest and authentic in their feedback about the district without fear of any retribution or retaliation. So I appreciate you sharing your firm's philosophy on that.
Mm-hmm. Stephanie, can I mention one thing?
Yes.
So just to be really clear, we won't share raw feedback, right, with district partners. We will share synthesized themes. Mm-hmm. And there might even be cases where focus groups are affinity based, right? Because it matters for safety and vulnerability, for Spanish speaking parents to be together, or African American families to be together, to be able to authentically share what they need to share.
100%. Something that I think would be important for me as a board member would be the communication plan and outreach to the community, maybe giving a heads up in case we have questions that come to us. We could understand what is being put out there, whether it's in I just don't know what the communication plan would be, but it would be nice to know and given a heads up that things are going out to parents or other community members, because we may get some feedback. And then also we can help promote, right, to attend and to increase engagement, because I think this is important work. I understand in what you shared around providing recommendations using qualitative and quantitative data. One thing that came to mind for me was once a strategic plan has been developed, can we talk about implementation, right? It's okay to put things on paper and have a plan, but it's how are we going to implement that as a district? Is that a part of the process as well?
I'll let Chris speak to the multi-year partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's what comes out of the equity plan, and I think part of this is a bit of a learning by doing, right? I don't think we're going to wait to have an equity plan in place before we start this work, right?
Okay.
It's somewhat simultaneous. Granted, we need to gather the data and have the conversations, but at the same time, there's a movement that we're creating. And one of the things that I love what Yanira keeps saying over and over is about community, right? And I think that in this work, we build that coalition and lock arms as we go through, right? And so part of that multi-year program is to start now and continue.
Okay. I just have two more questions. Can you share successes that you have had with this, with some of the clients you've worked with?
Mm-hmm. Maida, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so this was actually a question that the interview panel asked us when we were being considered as a partner for Brentwood. And what's interesting is that we have, for the most part, worked with much bigger districts. And that's often complicated, and we sometimes felt like we were just kind of a piece of their larger equity process. And that's why we were really actually excited about working with Brentwood as a little bit of an entry point to figure out and codify like what is actually happening in smaller communities that we can build upon to be able to really come up with a SWOT analysis that brings forth the pain points of the community, but also the beauty of each community. But some successes that we have had is particularly around family empowerment. We've worked with South City, so South San Francisco. We've also worked with San Mateo, and we've done some work in Long Beach to really think about how the voices of families can be centered as experts, and figuring out what are the conditions that are needed for families, for Spanish-speaking families, and for families that represent like historically marginalized groups to really see their voice as expert, as equal partners, as district voices or school voices. We've prepared families for public comment at school board meetings so that school board, like yourselves, can actually hear directly from families. It's one thing to say, okay, here are the survey results. It's another for us to help prepare families for public statement, and that they can suggest and give recommendations in their own authentic voice. And also figuring out how to make sure that lots of bilingual communities have access to both information, but also really authentic engagement, so that the translation doesn't necessarily feel like an add-on, but more so we create spaces where they can authentically engage in the language of their choice, and then we're able to lift some of those voices for all to hear. So those are some community engagements that we have found really successful. We've also worked with Washington, D.C. public schools to figure out a little bit of like the HR recommendations, particularly around increasing workforce diversity of school leadership. Because a lot of urban big public schools, the demographics, especially after COVID, are changing, and they're changing so fast. Being that Brentwood is, a little bit of a suburb into larger urban cities, we also imagine that you all are experiencing huge growth and change of your student population, and we've worked with different school districts to figure out what is the HR and the support that can be done within the school district to really both recruit talent but retain diverse talent, so that we have more representation at the teacher, instructional coach, leadership level, to mirror the demographics that their school district is pretty much changing things so fluidly?
I'll share one briefly that I think really mirrors the mixed method approach. We actually today finalized a big project with a nonprofit that serves Alameda County. And it's a different field. It's actually in behavioral mental health. But they really wanted to interrogate, like, how do they close the representation gaps of Latinx professionals in the behavioral mental health field. And we did a very similar process of community engagement with a mixed method approach that resulted in both local and state level policy and practice recommendations. That's really exciting, right? Because it came from the community. It came from the bottom up. And that's the movement that we hope to build here too.
Okay, I appreciate that. You know, for me, I think history, from my vantage point, people have spoken out and have kind of shared the stories and have been very vocal about challenges. And people want to see action, right? So I look forward to the increased engagement across our district and in the community. And one thing that I value is to see action come out of those stories. So that way we can move the numbers that were presented tonight, that are students that are vulnerable, who are impacted by an achievement gap. So my last question is around solutions. There's a lot of evidence-based research on what works, what kind of doesn't. Can you talk a little bit about how your team uses evidence-based practices in your solutions or strategies, or is it centered on co-creation with your stakeholders?
I would say both, right? We do believe in co-creation because in order for the action to live that we all want to happen, people need to feel ownership, right? And you only do that by building with. However, as the guides of that hosting of community, the processes have to include strategic thinking, right, of analysis of qualitative and quantitative data, potential recommendations, with also research-based practices to inform final recommendations. So I would say it includes both.
Okay, thank you. I look forward to the work.
Yeah, we actually had that conversation last night with another partner organization in the Bay Area. And that work that we were doing is we were designing for parents to learn about literacy and like the science of reading and how kids learn how to read, and math achievement opportunity data. And we thought a lot of the things that we hear is like, okay, we understand that our students or our emergent bilinguals are not achieving to the point where we think that they can, but like, what can we do about it? And we were thinking about how we're going to design parent spaces to be able to sunshine schools, program models, evidence-based practices that work, so they can understand what are the options and how can they use a collective parent voice to create recommendations and have partnership conversations with the school board so that they can agree on what they want to take action on. So it's definitely both, but I think it's also making sure that we equip parents who maybe are not educators to be able to think about what are the options and how do we really get behind our teachers, get behind our principals, so that the entire community is working on a similar goal and growing in the same way.
Yeah. Can I ask, are you using funds of knowledge theory?
No.
Okay.
Not yet. We can further discuss.
I have one more question just based off of what I heard, but Geddes, did you have anything?
Go ahead.
I love the thoughts and the anchoring on voices in the community. One thing I would like to see is that the work lives on beyond the years that their students are in our district, right? So although those parents may be able to get behind the district because your team has came in and have engaged and educated them in a way that brings meaning to the work, And I'm fearful that there may come a time that those parents are not here in our district any longer. So who's going to carry that baton forward?
Can I respond to that?
Yes, please.
So the strategic plan, right, has to think about how to operationalize through systems and practices so that it doesn't have to live within one person or a group of people. And that comes with the operational phase, right? And the second thing that I wanted to share was, I forgot the second piece, but I thought about the systems and practices that have to live within the operationalized system. Oh, what I wanted to mention too is that in order for this work to continue, and this is something that we've talked about with district leadership, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging work is not an independent siloed project. It needs to be in the DNA of what Brentwood as a district does in all aspects, whether it's teaching and learning, HR, parent, family engagement, collaboration, operational systems. It needs to be a thread throughout as a DNA element. And obviously, we're not going to be able to take all that on at once, but we need to identify where is a lever that we need to put in place first that's going to create the most impact, and then keep at it.
Mm-hmm. But the strategic plan also include a financial aspect, like what would the district need to invest in?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Actions have to be aligned with resource allocation.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
I would just add that to the board member who said, like, if you want to be able to operationalize and you're fearful that if families move on, I would say that makes a lot of sense. Because initially people move people, right? But then you need to move systems and operations to make sure that does become part of the DNA, like Juanita said. And also to your comment about investments, absolutely, because we believe that budgets are moral documents. They speak directly to the members.
Thank you.
What's your total staff?
We have 3, and then
That was it on the
yeah,
slide.
but we
Okay.
often, for many projects, subcontract other allies.
So you got a
in the
lot of
work.
work to do, 3 of you.
Yeah, no, we have a team.
Okay.
We're the core team, but we have additional team members that we bring on depending on the need.
Okay, thank you.
I want to thank the Gonzalez Group for coming in. We're so excited to do this work. I want to especially thank the board for approving this when we brought this to you a while back. This is courageous and difficult work, but I think it's going to be some of the most important work that we do for the next decade going forward. And so I realize that it's challenging to see many of the, not only just the strengths that we sometimes see, but the challenges that are taking place in the district. And it's important for us to take that mirror and look at where we are, because our kids deserve the absolute best as we go forward. So I appreciate you all supporting this. I appreciate your work so far going forward. And I know we have a lot to look forward to.
One other question. I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Is there a long-term plan to continue this on with Liberty? Our other high school district?
We're not in conversation with them, but we
Okay.
have done professional development work for them in the past.
Thank you.
Not on a strategic plan, though.
Yeah, and I will say that we did professional development with around 80 of their teachers in their summer PT around DEI work, and they were amazing. So to think about that the students from Brentwood will then go into the hands of some of the educators that we met this summer is very, very promising. I was so impressed by the vulnerability and heart in this type of work. It was nice to see where the students matriculate to and who is included in their care.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate both of you in your presentation.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right.
Thank you. I hope to meet some of you in person. I'm in Brentwood in 2 weeks, and hopefully we run into each other both professionally and personally.
Superintendent will take you out for lunch several times, trust me.
All right. So moving on to agenda item number 11, board member comment or future agenda items. Are there any?
Right.
I have one, which is I would like to get just understand how many people are using the YouTube, the virtual recordings that we have. If we could just bring that back, some of that data.
Yeah, I'd be happy to bring that back.
Thank you. Any others? If not, I will make, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Or- Aye, perfect. So moved. Have a great night, everyone.
I do. We have two speakers for you.
Okay.